Hey, what's happening? So I came upon something that I've never seen before yesterday when I was out hunting for morels and checking on the cattails to see how they're doing. Anyway, I come in here and I was getting ready to pull up some of these cattails, and I looked out there and I could see the grass moving, you know, back and forth, and something was slopping around, and I figured it was a muskrat or something. I figured I'd sneak up and see how close I could get to it, because it seemed kind of preoccupied. It kept splashing around in the same spot. I come over here and then I could see all kinds of activity out in the water. There was all kinds of things out there moving around. And this isn't a pond. What this is well, it used to be a forest of ash, but all the ash died, and now it's just a big dead area. But I don't know if it's because the trees died, the ground has sunk because the roots have rotted, so the ground sunk and has allowed this water to seep in. But there's a small creek up there. It's a seasonal creek. Sometimes it's almost dry, but we've had an extreme amount of rain. I think I see something moving around right there. But I walked out on this log and I found out that because that creek overflowed somewhere far upstream, I don't even know where this creek, I didn't even realize there was a pond or even a lake further upstream from here, but there must be, because that flood washed all the carp out of that pond or whatever, down that creek into this little side, almost like it's basically just a drainage ditch that has grass growing in it, and the overflow comes into here now. And this was just chock full of carp yesterday. As a matter of fact, it still is. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you. Hey, you might be able to make out the water swirling, but I can't get this camera to focus in that far because those trees are in front. But basically, these carp are all trapped in here. This water is only 6 inches to a foot deep at the most, and there's probably, I don't know, anywhere between 30 and maybe even 100 carp swimming around out there in 6 inches of water. They can only fit about half their body underwater, and they're pretty much doomed to death, because in another week or so this is probably going to be dry unless we get more rain. That's the only thing that'll keep those guys hanging on, but they're going to end up being fertilizer for this little woodland area. This actually goes all the way back through this woods. I can't really get back in that part without getting completely muddy. The mud's about 3 feet deep, and then there's another foot or so of water on top of that now. But I just thought that was, I don't know, crazy. All those fish, and they're all just gonna die because they're trapped. They're virtually landlocked. It isn't even a stream that flows into this. It's just a small drainage ditch that never has more than 1 inch or so of water in it until this year. But we had all that rain, and with the spring thaw and stuff, it We've pretty much had rain non-stop since April 1st. I'll show you where these carp come in at up here. This is a trip though. Makes me think, like, I don't know, you could do some really good fishing if you're in a flood zone. Because I'm sure a lot of fish get trapped like this every time there's a flood. But you can see this is where they went through to get to that little open body of water over there. That's about 30 yards of, I don't know if this is Phragmites grass. I don't know what this stuff is. It's some kind of tall grass that grows in wetlands. But they struggled through all that thick grass and roots for 30 yards or so to get to that open water, only to find death. That's survival. Not gonna be survival for these guys. This is where this little culvert goes under this trail. And it cuts across the trail and dumps out over there where I just showed you. But typically this isn't even, I mean, this is normally grass, but because of the flood was so intense, it washed the grass right away. And now it's down to bare sand and earth. But I come here yesterday and this was twice as deep yesterday. So unless we get more rain, it's probably going to be almost dry tomorrow. And those carp are going to be breathing air, not water. Yesterday this was right up to the edge. It looks like it's probably dropped close to a foot in one day. And then this little bitty 3-foot wide creek, temporary creek, there was about 30 carp right there, all in that one spot, in about a 10-foot by 3-foot section. 30 carp. They were stacked. And this is where they, oh, there was another little fish, and that wasn't a carp. I think that might have been a bluegill. I looked in here yesterday. I was kind of hoping I might see some walleye or bass or pike or something, but it's all carp for the most part. But again, you know, here's another big long stretch, and this runs for about a good 100 yards until it becomes a creek again. Otherwise it's just water that's kind of meandering its way through this grass, because this has never been a creek before. It's always just been wet and, you know, kind of muddy, but never standing water, not even in the springtime. Now it looks like a big machine has come through here, and maybe they intentionally did this. Maybe they came down there and they broke open that creek to divert some of the water down this way to keep it from flooding out further downstream somewhere. I don't know. Or these tracks just could be utility workers or a railroad crew or something. Well, I was really hopeful I'd get a bunch of video of them swimming around, but it seems like they've disappeared. I think they all probably went down into that first pool that I showed you, because they were struggling yesterday to keep up with the current, and you know, every 5 minutes or so one would get sucked under that culvert and sent on his way to death. Well, you know, it makes me feel for people down south and stuff that got all that real flooding. I mean, we've averaged about 1/3 of an inch every day this month. This runs all the way up through there. Here's the original creek. I can't imagine what it looks like in places that, you know, have some big rivers that overflowed. Because this is just a little creek here. This is the creek that I stuck my deer skin in late last fall to rinse, and it wasn't like this. The creek itself doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like it's up much, maybe a little bit, but something sure diverted this water. Now that I look at this, I'm thinking what might have happened is the utility company came through here with a big machine and drove right through that creek, and because their machine is so heavy, the tires sank down and basically made a new creek that runs all the way down through here. Maybe they accidentally broke the side of that creek over and it overflowed, and you know, maybe somebody made a boo-boo, because if we get any more rain, there's a big subdivision right behind this woods that's going to get flooded out. I'll go back down here and see if I can't catch any of those carp. I could have reached down and grabbed them right out of the water yesterday. There's like 3 or 4 right here. This water's only about 6 inches or maybe a foot deep, and I could just walk right in there. But thing is, you have no idea what's in that water, because this is a flood overflow. It could be raw sewage and everything in there. But there's an old 55-gallon drum right there, and I bet they're all hiding inside of that. There's probably 5 or 10 sitting in there, hiding in the shade. This one can't fit in there. He's trying to hide under this grass here. Oh yeah, that's real muddy. That'd be like quicksand stepping in that. It's only 6 inches of water, but there's probably 3 feet of mud, and I'd be stuck and I wouldn't be able to get out. I've had that happen before. I don't know how those fish ever made it down through here. I'm thinking this was up a lot higher for them to get up in here. But I don't really see any sign like on the bank or anything of the water being much higher, you know, than what I told you. It was about a foot higher than this yesterday, but know what? This isn't an old barrel. This is another culvert. Another drainage ditch. Let's see what's on the other side of this. More flooding. I think I see what happened. I bet those carp came down this side and went through this drainage ditch. I didn't know that was there. Yep. Yeah, because there's one right there. Oh yeah, this was up. It was up high enough for them to get washed down through here. I'm surprised there's none just laying out here. I'm surprised they all managed to get washed down, and none of them got stuck here. There might be some stuck in this part. This is just a cheap pair of Walmart boots. I think they were 12 bucks. They have thin insulation, and they are the lightest boots I have ever wore in my life, and they're quite flexible. The bottom is waterproof, the upper is leather, and I had a problem. You know, whenever I went over my ankle, my feet would get soaked because the leather just sucks up that water. So I took that deer tallow I made and heated it up and put it all over these leather uppers. And then I took a hair dryer and let it melt in. I did that last fall, and these boots are still waterproof. Completely waterproof, thanks to Mother Nature. I'm gonna see if I can't catch one of these carp. Boy, look at all that burdock. That whole bank is just nothing but burdock for about, I don't know, it's hard to tell from the side, but I'd say 25 yards of nothing but burdock. That's all really good loose soil too. You could probably reach down and pull them big long burdock roots right out by hand, but you'd have to walk through looks like a couple feet of water to get to it. This side's all flooded. This pond, this subdivision didn't used to be here. I've lived here almost my whole life. I've lived here for over 30 years, and right about where that little kids slide and play set is, right in the center of the screen there, that's where I got my first deer. When I got that deer, this was an old abandoned cornfield, and And it was a horse track also at one point, where I think they ran quarter horses, I'm not sure. Now it's subdivision. Doesn't look at all like it was when I was a kid. But they put this little pond here to prevent this. But it didn't work, because the little pond is about 10 times as big as it was. The little pond runs all the way back to that woods and way down past where the camera can see. And it used to just cover a very small center in the section of the screen. I come up here yesterday, I was gonna go down this trail to get back into these woods and see if I could find some late morels. Because usually around this time of year, it starts drying up, and this area kind of retains the moisture, so it's a good late spot for morels. But it kind of retained a little too much moisture this time. In 30 years, I've never seen it like this. This is the trail, and it looks like it's about 50 feet of water to get to the other side of the trail. And yesterday, this water was up past the second rung of that fence. It was over 5 feet deep, and I've never seen more than a mud puddle at the bottom of this in my entire life. So, I don't know, it's kind of surprising that what rain we got made it flood out like this. I'm thinking it's not the rain, I'm thinking there's some construction going on, or something happened somewhere and somebody's just not aware that this is overflowing like this. I mean, this creek has never been like this. Look at it swelling up over there. I can't see it, and I've never seen it in my life, but there must be a culvert right here that's way underground, because that water is like, it's swelling up almost like there's a spring from underneath. I don't know. It's weird. And the water's flowing in 3 different directions from this one point. It's flowing straight off through there. It's flowing through there, which is the creek. I mean, I don't even know if you can make out the banks of the creek, but this creek is only about 5 foot wide at its max, and now it's, you know, I don't know, 30 feet wide, and it runs in 3 different directions, and it runs on the other side of the railroad tracks and all over. There's another carp. There's 2 carp right there swimming. I think the carp, being big and fat and dopey, they couldn't handle the current and they got washed down, and all the pike and walleye and stuff, they probably could handle the current better, and they're still up in the pond or whatever. Holy cow, that was loud. This is where that machine's tracks went through, and it's washed it right out, and I don't know, kind of made two creeks side by side, parallel creeks. Normally the creek is about that big after a heavy rain, and that right there is about 1.5 feet, 2 foot wide. But it's gotten bigger. It's gotten bigger and more powerful. I could see a little kid coming in here and falling in and drowning, getting swept down, not being able to catch his feet. I'm gonna follow this on up and see where it comes from, because this actually was never a creek right here before. That's kind of where it ended back there, and the culvert went across towards that little pond I showed you, and the creek runs off on the other side that way. This is all new to me here. Maybe I'll see a nice big northern pike or something. I'll get back with you if I find anything interesting. I guess this is the end of the line. That creek makes a 90 right there and heads back into the woods, and that's all private, so I can't really go back in there. They diverted this creek. There's another subdivision right there, right on the other side of those trees that went in, and they must have diverted that creek to run around the outside edge of the sub over here to the railroad tracks. Either that, or that's not even a creek there. I mean, this whole area looks completely different now. It's amazing what a little rain will do. I mean, I never paid much attention to these little bitty creeks because most of the time they're dry. So, you know, and they're so small, a lot of times you don't even notice them. You just walk right by, but obviously there's a creek there now that didn't ever seem to used to be there. It just sort of appeared with this rain. I think we've only had like 5 inches of rain in the past couple weeks, but we had 2 days where we got almost 2 inches both days, so I think that's what did it. This water's all red with tannins from coming out of that woods right there. Parts of this railroad bed are getting washed away in spots. There's sinkholes up there that go right down through the gravel in the railroad bed over into here. I'm probably going to sink in mud up about a foot deep. We'll see. Nope. I did the last time though. Almost lost my boot. Well, this is the rainiest spring we've had in a long, long time in southeast Michigan, and I don't know, kind of hoped I'd get to noodle a couple carp for you, but I'm not going to go wading through 3 feet of mud to do it. If it was a pike or a walleye, I'd be getting them. If it was a pike or a walleye, you probably wouldn't see this video. I'd be home eating pike and walleye. My granny said they used to eat carp, and she told me how to cook them, but I don't know. It's not a fish I want to eat. Not from southeast Michigan anyway. I'll be glowing in the dark after I ate it probably. They're probably full of mercury and who knows what else. We have so much industry and agriculture around here that a lot of the fish really aren't very safe to eat, unfortunately. They warn mothers not to breastfeed their babies if they eat fish. They warn mothers not to even eat fish if they're pregnant. I think that's a shame. I don't know if all this modern conveniences is worth that. I might be able to get to those carp from right here. The problem with trying to get out here is this area generally stays damp, but it doesn't really have standing water in it. But now that it does, it has caused the soil to kind of expand, so it's almost like quicksand. You step in a place that used to be dry and you could walk across, and now you step in it and you step in 6 inches of water and 3 feet of mud, and it's not a good feeling. If you've ever been up to your knee in mud or quicksand or anything like that, it's a pretty spooky feeling because you can't get your leg out. It's very difficult to get your leg out. That's gonna be... Whoa. I don't mind getting wet. I just don't want to sink up to my knees in mud. Boy, you gotta love the mosquitoes. Let's see if I can get a little close. Yeah, those fish ain't gonna make it. They're struggling right now. They were able to swim all through this yesterday. Now they can't even really swim. Their backs are sticking right out of the water. And this water smells rank. That's another reason I don't want to get too deep in this, because I don't want to get a, you know, I probably got mosquito bites on my legs and stuff. I don't want to get that water in there and end up getting an infection, because this has probably got raw sewage in it.